The authors are recognized for their 2-minute opening statement.
Hello, I'm Mastronardi from the Republic of Texas.
My name is Gillette, and I am from Florida, and we reserve our right to yield to our closing.
That is your right.
Thank you, Sir Chair. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution mandates that all citizens be given full and equal benefit of the law. However, the 14th Amendment is being perverted by affirmative action. Although affirmative action was created to give minorities more opportunities in education and the workforce, those who are not considered to be minorities are not given equal consideration in the university decision process. According to a research conducted by Thomas Kane based on the National Study of College Experience, in order to have identical chances to be admitted to a public university, on average, a white student would need an ACT score of a 30.8, a Hispanic student a score of a 30.5, an African American student a score of a 27, and an Asian student a 34.2. Affirmative action as it currently stands is demeaning to minorities. To assume that minorities, whether racial or gender, can't meet the precedent set by institutions to succeed is condescending and downright offensive. Our proposal eradicates Executive Order 11245 in its regards to education, also known as affirmative action, by removing the race, gender, and name fields from public university applications. Race and gender are the biggest factors of discrimination used by affirmative action, and names are the second highest indicator of ethnicity. By prohibiting these fields in applications, this proposal will eliminate any preferential treatment in the decision process. Acceptances will be solely dependent on personal achievement, rendering the admission process truly colorblind. If you were to ask Sandra Day O'Connor, Condoleezza Rice, or President Barack Obama if they are where they are today because of affirmative action or sheer merit, what do you think their answer would be? Thank you, and we yield our time.
The delegates have yielded 10 seconds to their closing statement. The floor is now open for non-debatable technical questions. The chair will recognize any such questions on the floor. Yam, South Carolina. Ahmed. Cahoon, Isham.
Area South Carolina delegation. How does this proposal affect college admissions in the interviews?
Well, it is just...
That's debatable.
Sulman Ma, South Carolina delegation. Currently, do all colleges use gender and race statistics?
No.
Next question, please.
Cahoon, Republic of Texas. Would colleges still be allowed to ask for photographs of applicants?
Most likely not.
Thank you, author. Next question, please.
In Kentucky, would colleges still be able to request this information for a scholarship application?
Scholarships would have to be considered after acceptance.
The chair will recognize further non-debatable technical questions on the floor. The chair recognizes Bush, Pruitt, Morgan, and Ms. Worker.
Bush, Louisiana delegation. Thank you, Sir Chair. Would this be striking from application completely or making it an optional part of the application?
Striking completely.
Thank you.
Chandler Pruitt, the Republic of Texas. Does this in any way affect the question on the SAT where you have to answer what your race is? Would you still have to check? Would you still have to answer that?
The SAT is from a private entity, so.
Thank you, author. Next question, please.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Ryan Morgan, California delegation. In the process of verifying Social Security numbers, does the Social Security Administration disclose any additional information about the application?
Thank you, author. Next question, please. The chair will recognize further non-debatable questions on the floor. Wiley, Holland, Harrison.
My name is Christine Wiley, and I'm here from Florida. In the case that the applicant does not have a Social Security number, what would be the procedure followed?
Well, all citizens are given a Social Security number upon birth, and so any other applicants would have to have either...
I'm sorry, delegate. Time for non-debatable technical questions has now elapsed. The chair will recognize the first con speaker. Is such a speaker on the floor? The chair recognizes Grissom of Tennessee. Delegate, your time has begun.
Grissom from the state of Tennessee, the volunteer state. I reserve my right to yield any of my remainder time from my delegate here from New Mexico.
That is important.
Okay. While I applaud the author's intent of what they're trying to do, I see a few flaws. First of all, you have many people that are not comfortable with giving their Social Security number out to colleges like that. You also have First of all, a part of college admissions process is an interview process. So you're going to meet the people, you're going to see what kind of race they are regardless. And so that's something you really can't deny. You're going to have physical contact, at least most colleges do, to make sure that the person has a good personality, that the college would use them, and that they would be well taken in the college. So with that, I feel like that the author has good intent, but there are flaws that need to be addressed. I yield the remainder of my time to my delegate from New Mexico.
The delegate has 22 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me assure you, as a minority, it is not demeaning to receive these sorts of scholarships. I'll be attending a state school on a full ride because I am Hispanic. Now, does that mean I'm not intelligent? No, but it does mean that my family is historically poor and that we need education for our minorities in order to raise them up to the level that they should be. Thank you.
By his actions, the delegate has yielded his time to the chair. The chair will now recognize the first pro speaker. If such a speaker exists on the floor. The chair recognizes Hamlet from Wisconsin.
Hamburg, Wisconsin delegation, and I reserve my right to give my remaining time to the author's presentation.
That is your right.
So, I am in favor of this proposal because the American dream was to work hard. You work hard, you get rewards. And I believe that by closing the affirmative action, people who work hard will get into college, not based on their ethnicity or if they're a minority. And also, like Delegate previously stated, there are grants out there, and it's easier for minorities to get college money. So I feel like by taking out affirmative action, it would help level the playing field. I yield the remainder of my time to the author's closing statement.
The delegate has yielded 41 seconds. Amendments are now in order. The chair will recognize another con speaker. Does such a speaker exist on the floor? The chair recognizes Farmer of Michigan.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to Farmer Michigan delegation. I reserve the right to the remainder of my time to Childers of New Mexico.
That is your right.
Thank you. As the author stated in their justification, admissions amongst minorities declined when affirmative action was removed. Colleges do understand that most minorities do not have the same opportunities or have the same advantages as the majority race. Therefore, it is taken into consideration that we need to diversify our institutions. We can't just have one sole race just because they have more advantages. These factors are still taken into consideration that they believe in minorities' potential. And that it's not like I can have a 25 and a 3.0 and get into Harvard just because I'm black. Of course, I still have to have the same standards that anybody else has who's a part of that institution. With that, I give the remainder of my time.
The delegate has 45 seconds.
Thank you, Amy Childers, New Mexico delegation. There are three main reasons I oppose this proposal. The first is that it's completely unavoidable. Colleges still require interviews, they require photographs, and it's unavoidable to avoid race. My second main reason is SAT and ACT scores. They don't require social security numbers, so the transferring of scores would be very difficult to transfer to colleges. And the third reason is social security numbers are a very personal thing to many people, and it would be very difficult to get all of them to give them up for a college application. I yield my time to the chair.
By her actions, the delegate has yielded to the chair. The chair will now recognize a pro speaker. Does such a speaker exist on the floor? The chair recognizes Carol of the United Nations delegation.
I'm Carol from the United Nations delegation. I reserve the right to yield time to fellow delegate.
Provided you state his name and delegation.
Joe from Oklahoma.
That is your right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we talk about equality all the time. Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we talk about equality all the time, constantly bettering ourselves, trying to make this nation a more equal nation. Well, if we want equality, shouldn't the ability to get admitted into a prestigious college be based on academic prowess, not on your ethnicity? Well, especially with standardized tests, regardless of whether you're white, or whether you're Asian, or whether you're Native American, it's the same test that we're all taking, and we all have the ability to succeed on that test. Now, with the statistics present in the justification, we can all agree that it's clear that affirmative action has a huge role in the admission of minorities into colleges. So even if there's small like SAT and interviews and stuff, affirmative action is the sole assistance to minorities in getting admitted into colleges. And if one wants to succeed, one should be able to succeed regardless of help from, let's say, affirmative action. I yield the remainder of my time to fellow delegate.
The delegate has 25 seconds.
Chode, Oklahoma, I reserve the right to yield the remainder of time to Officer Nation.
That is in order.
First of all, I think that the admission to college should be solely based on GPA, ACT, SAT score, class ranking, and resume, volunteer hours, and things like that. And I believe the authors have some statistics about how class rank or how GPA and ACT, SAT scores are much lower.
I'm sorry, delegate, your time has elapsed. The chair will now recognize a con speaker. The chair recognizes Reigns of Virginia.
Andrew Reigns, Commonwealth of Virginia, and I reserve my right to give the remainder of my time to Reed of Kentucky.
That is your right.
I just want to point out that through previous actions in history that minorities have constantly been oppressed and have been racially discriminated against, and therefore affirmative action is just a way to make up for the oppression that they have been in. Statistics prove that minorities, especially Hispanic and Black, are constantly in poverty, and they do need some sort of help when coming into college. I'm not saying that all of the minorities are in poverty, but it is a statistic, and it's something that is very sad, and I'm fully in support of affirmative action. I give the remainder of my time to my fellow delegate.
The delegate has yielded 53 seconds.
Brown Reed representing Kentucky, Sir Chair. Although I applaud the author's intent, I believe it is infeasible to dismantle the affirmative action system. The proposal will indirectly support the wealthier middle class and widen the gap between groups economically. The truth is that wealth means opportunity, and those who live in wealthier areas have access to more challenging high school curriculums, which will waste heavily in admission and counseling eyes. By reading the admissions process of affirmative action, we'll be blocking out passionate students who otherwise may not be able to attend college. Thank you. I really the remainder of my time, Sir Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The chair will now recognize a pro speaker. If such a speaker exists on the floor. The chair recognizes Engelman of New York. Amendments are no longer in order on the floor.
Engelman from New York. I reserve the right to yield any remaining time to Shankin from Georgia.
You have that right.
Now, we've heard previous arguments state that many times historically minorities go through economic oppression, and that is the reason that they must be given more opportunity in the college admissions process. However, if we're talking about economic oppression, we should be looking at each individual's economic situation, not just that they are a minority. Just because someone's Hispanic or African American, that doesn't mean necessarily that they are poor. And for that reason, I urge you to write this proposal and yield the remainder of my time.
The delegate has yielded 45 seconds.
In regards to a previous delegate,
I'm sorry, delegate, could you please state your name and delegation?
Shanklin, Georgia. Excuse me. 1 in 4 Caucasians are in poverty. Just to point that out, personal experience, not that I'm poor, but I have been through that kind of thing. Just because you're a minority doesn't necessarily mean that you are poor. 2, I applied to 6 colleges this past year, just graduated. Each of those colleges required my social security number. I commend the author on the intent of this proposal. The United States is claimed to be a nation of equality, and however, we as citizens limit ourselves to our full potential because we place these barriers of race and gender on us.
Sorry, delegate, but your time has expired.
Thank you.
The chair will now recognize the final con speaker. The chair recognizes Coletti of Massachusetts.
Thank you, and through you, Sir Chair, David Coletti, Commonwealth Masters Delegation. I'd just like to address a couple things that delegates said. Responding to the gender aspect of this bill, most people who attend college are women, so this helped a lot of men get into college because it limits the amount of women that can go in, but in some colleges, most men are, so it limits the amount of men that can get in and allows women to get in, so it allows equal opportunity for gender. Also, most Black communities and Mexican American communities are statistically poorer than Caucasian communities, and therefore that means that those towns' public schooling systems are not as advanced as those in most Caucasian communities. Also, there are 7,000 institutions of colleges and high-level education. If you don't get into one, you have 6,000 1,999 to apply to, so I'm sure that you can apply to those if you didn't get into one that you wanted to get into. Also, there are many scholarships that go hand in hand with affirmative action that are necessary for those who are in poor communities to get the necessary money to attend institutions of higher education. Also, diversity is a major factor to increase respect, awareness, and opportunity and equality in this country, and it's necessary for school and communities. And finally, this does award people who do work hard. It is racist, I believe, to say that all black people and Mexican Americans get into school just because of their ethnicity. They do work hard. I come from a school that is very diverse, and I have black people and Mexicans who have the same GPA, if not higher than I do. And there is so much else that goes into a college process besides your race. Thank you, and I yield the remainder of my time to the chair.
The delegate yields his time. The floor is now closed for conference debate. The authors are recognized for their 2-minute and 51-second closing summation.
Thank you so much, delegates, for both pro and con speakers. I would like to clear up something. This is only affecting public universities, and every single public university in the United States already requires Social Security. So we are not asking for you to use additional personal information. This is also most public universities do not require interviews or photographs, and for the few that do, this will be resolved in legislature, but it is a very, very small minority that would require a photograph or an interview at a public university. And then also, this in no way affects the minority scholarships that are granted through affirmative action, only admissions. You can be admitted, then you can go through a process to say you're a minority, and then you can receive a full-ride scholarship. So this is not affecting that at all. There are also more, but to suggest that minorities as a whole have been disadvantaged is to suggest that minority status equates low socioeconomic status, and that is completely false. Under our proposal, you can still include socioeconomic status, and that will be considered. It will just not be considered on the basis of minority status, merely on the basis of socioeconomic status, which actually shows disadvantage. And so, Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Men should be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin." Affirmative action is a direct contradiction to the goals of Dr. King, blocking the dream he had of a nation blind to race. What makes Kona so great is the great variety of ideas and just opinions we all have, and that's the type of diversity that matters, not racial diversity. Race is a purely physical characteristic, not a cultural, intellectual, or meaningful one. Affirmative action is detrimental to all involved parties. If a student is accepted to a university lacking credentials, he or she is being set up for failure. The very purpose of acquiring an education is to gain knowledge of the content material, and if a student struggles and ultimately fails, then that purpose has not been fulfilled. How is it logical to admit someone to a university in which his or her success is marginal? In addition, affirmative action sets false precedent that many minorities wouldn't be where they are today without affirmative action, and that is incorrect. By eliminating the race, gender, and name fields from applications, the use of bias in the application process will be eradicated entirely, making our proposal the unrivaled solution for inequality in the application process.
As a woman, I am offended by affirmative action, and as Americans, you should be outraged that this decision process is being practiced today. We strongly ask that you move this on to the MGA or plenary, and thank you for your time.
By their actions, the office have yielded their time to the chair. We will now proceed to a period of ranking. CLC members and chairs will please approach the desk.